big question we had before this cruise was simple. Are we too young for Fred Olsen? It's a cruise line with a reputation. Traditional, a slightly older crowd, and a much quieter style of cruising. So we were wondering, would we actually enjoy it? Or would we be quietly counting down the days until disembarkation? And there was another question as well, because for 2026, Fred Olsen has introduced the Freedom Fare, which already includes beer and wine with meals. So, does this mean the drinks package isn't really worth it anymore? We were about to find out. After sailing Balmoral over to Bruges and down the River Seine, something happened that we genuinely didn't expect. By the end of the cruise, we were already talking about booking another one. If you're new here, we're Travels with David and Mark, and every week we share cruise and travel adventures from huge modern ships to smaller, more traditional ones. This was our first time sailing with Fred Olsen on their river cities of France and Belgium itinerary, and going into the cruise, we genuinely didn't know what to expect. Balmoral launched in 1988 and carries around 1,300 passengers, which is tiny compared to the megaships many cruise lines are building today. So we were curious, would the ship feel dated? Would the atmosphere feel too quiet for us? And would we actually enjoy this more traditional style of cruising? But the moment we stepped on board, something interesting happened. We immediately felt relaxed. Not overwhelmed, not dazzled, just comfortable. There was this warm, welcoming, almost homely feel about the ship that made us feel at ease straight away. And that first impression turned out to be a pretty good preview of the whole cruise. Now, yes, Balmoral is an older ship, but what surprised us most is that she doesn't feel neglected or tired. She feels looked after and loved. We stayed in a refurbished ocean view cabin on deck 4, updated in 2024, and honestly, it felt far more modern than we expected. There was a modern TV, complete with a selection of in-room movies included in your cruise fare, a fridge, more plug sockets than we've seen on other older ships, and a very modern bathroom with a proper glass shower door. It felt fresh, comfortable, and well thought out with plenty of storage space. Around the rest of the ship, Fred Olsen has taken a really nice approach to refurbishment. Much of the original architecture from the 1980s is still there. The layout, the structure, that classic cruise design, but it's softened with newer furnishings and fabrics. It creates a really lovely blend of old and new, and one thing we particularly loved was how connected this ship feels to the sea. So many modern cruise ships almost try to hide the ocean, replacing windows with interior spaces and giant atriums. But Balmoral does the opposite. There are windows everywhere. Whether you're in a lounge, a cafe, or a bar, you're constantly able to look out and see the sea around you. For us, that's exactly what cruising should be like. By the end of the cruise, some of the things we thought might feel outdated actually became some of our favourite parts of the ship. For a ship this size, the deck spaces are vast, offering plenty of space to take in the scenery, plus having 2 large pools on board was a real surprise. And with the full wraparound promenade deck, you can actually walk right up to the very front of the ship, which is something many modern ships don't allow anymore. Standing there during sail away, watching the ropes be pulled in as the ship slowly leaves port is one of those classic cruise moments. And the traditional tiered aft decks are another favourite, perfect for standing outside and watching the wake disappear behind you. It's a ship that constantly reminds you that you're at sea, and we loved that. One of the things Balmoral does really well is creating spaces where you actually want to spend time. Our 2 favourite spots quickly became the Morning Light pub and the Observation Bar. The Observation Bar in particular is beautiful. Large windows bringing in plenty of natural light, comfortable seating everywhere, and a really calm atmosphere. It's the kind of place where you can sit with a drink, watch the sea ahead of you, and let time slow down a little. And there are lots of spaces like that around the ship. Quiet corners, cosy lounges, places to sit with a coffee or the newspaper, and while these areas are relaxed, they never felt empty. There's always a gentle buzz, people chatting quietly, soft background music playing, enough atmosphere to feel lively, but never intrusive. One detail we absolutely loved was the flower shop on board. It's such a small thing, but it adds to that feeling that this ship is designed for enjoying the journey, not just rushing between ports. One of the biggest highlights of this cruise though was the crew. They were genuinely some of the friendliest crew we've experienced at sea, but what really stood out is they actually had time to be friendly. They'd stop and chat. They'd remember your name, your cabin number, what drinks you liked, and those little conversations build a connection over the course of a cruise. It was also really lovely seeing crew members chatting and laughing with each other. It gave a glimpse into the culture on board, and it genuinely felt like a happy ship. And when the crew are happy, the atmosphere lifts with them. Food can make or break a cruise for us, and thankfully this was another area where Fred Olsen really impressed us. The main dining room setup works really well, with Spey and Avon, the two smaller dining rooms, offering a quieter, more intimate feel, while still keeping that bright atmosphere and connection to the outside world. If you wanted to, you could easily have a 5-course meal every evening of the cruise, and if you're a meat eater, there's certainly plenty of choice. The vegetarian and vegan options were a little more limited, but there's an always available menu alongside a daily changing menu, and often dishes inspired by the region you're visiting. So when you're sailing through France, you'll see French-inspired dishes appearing on the menu. But more importantly, the food was genuinely very tasty, and that wasn't in just one venue either. Over the course of the cruise, we tried all of the dining options on board: the main dining room, the buffet, the specialty restaurant, and even the upcharge afternoon tea, and the quality was consistently good across the board. Everything felt well cooked, well seasoned, and thoughtfully put together. It's easily some of the best food we've had on a more traditional cruise line. There were also some really nice extra touches: a daily included afternoon tea offering in the buffet, and a late night supper running from 11 PM until midnight. We did wish that ran a little later, but it probably tells you something about when most people had already gone to bed. Room service is included too. One morning we ordered breakfast to the cabin while the ship quietly sailed down the River Seine. Watching the French countryside drift past while eating breakfast in bed is one of those cruise moments we won't forget. Before sailing, we weren't sure if we even needed the drinks package. Our booking included the Freedom Fare, which already gives you beer and wine with lunch and dinner. So the question was, would the drinks package still feel worth it? For us, surprisingly, yes. It includes bottled and canned water, which many cruise lines still charge extra for, and over the course of 5 nights we definitely made use of it. By the end of the cruise, between us, we'd probably consumed around £1,200 worth of drinks from a package that cost us £400. Now, that's not a totally fair comparison, because without the package, we probably wouldn't have ordered quite so many drinks. But safe to say, we definitely got our money's worth. That said, if you're not a big drinker, the Freedom Fare on its own is a great choice and would probably be perfectly sufficient. Entertainment was probably the one area that felt a little more mixed. Fred Olsen are currently changing entertainment companies, so we saw a mix of shows from the outgoing team and the new one. One of the older productions, Glitter and Groove, didn't quite land for us, but the newer shows definitely feel like they're taking things in a more modern direction. The Country Cabaret show was fun, but the highlight for us was Gin and Jazz, which was fantastic. What we enjoyed even more though were the musicians around the ship, from guitarists to a string trio, and especially Lynn on the piano. We spent quite a few evenings sitting listening to Lynn play and then chatting with her afterwards, and those smaller musical moments often ended up being some of the most memorable evenings of the cruise. Sailing an ocean cruise ship down the River Seine is fairly unique and felt genuinely special. Watching villages, countryside and French chateaux slowly pass by on the way to Rouen while standing on deck was unforgettable. Rouen itself was fascinating to explore, and although we were initially disappointed when the itinerary changed from Antwerp to Zeebrugge, Bruges actually ended up being a really lovely surprise. Fred Olsen also handled the change really well. Before the cruise, we were informed that enhanced sanitation measures after a previous outbreak of gastro on board would impact our embarkation and itinerary, and the communication was clear and reassuring. On board, you could see constant cleaning happening, and the free shuttle bus from Zeebrugge to Bruges, by way of an apology, was a really lovely touch. So, were we too young for Fred Olsen? Yes, the demographic on board definitely skews older, but did we feel out of place? Not even slightly. The atmosphere is relaxed, friendly and sociable. Balmoral, unlike Borealis, isn't adults only, but the children on board were really well behaved, and it was actually really nice to see multi-generational families holidaying together. Evenings on board are more about chatting in the bars, listening to music and enjoying the company around you, rather than late night partying. If you're looking for a party cruise, Fred Olsen probably isn't the one. If you're wanting to try a more traditional cruise offering, but are put off by the perceived stuffiness of other traditional lines, with its calm, welcoming atmosphere where you can properly unwind, Fred works beautifully. So, what did all of this actually cost? We paid £582 per person for a 5-night sailing, based on 2 people sharing an interior cabin on Fred Olsen's Freedom Fare. On top of that, we paid £45 each to upgrade to an ocean view cabin the day before sailing, £200 each for the drinks package, and £13 each for the premium afternoon tea experience. There were also a couple of additional experiences we tried on board that were gifted to us by Fred Olsen, but for transparency, their costs would have been £15 each for colours and tastes, although that's going up to £20 in April 2026, and £22 each for the martini experience. Our booking also included a promotional £50 of onboard credit each. That works out at £165 per person per night. And considering the quality of food we had, the level of service we received, and everything that comes with the Freedom Fare, we were more than happy with that. But more importantly, it was a cruise we genuinely enjoyed from start to finish. So, after all of that, would we sail with Fred Olsen again? Absolutely. We said it before, but cruising doesn't have to be loud, flashy, or packed with adrenaline to be special. And this sailing reaffirmed that. Sometimes the magic is in the smaller things, a crew member remembering your name, a quiet lounge with the piano playing, or watching the countryside drift past your cabin window. And while we originally wondered if we might feel too young for Fred Olsen, it turns out we simply felt completely at home. What we love most about cruising is the incredible variety it offers. No 2 cruise lines feel the same. Some ships are designed to thrill you, some are designed to impress you, and some, like Balmoral, are designed simply to help you slow down and enjoy the journey. For us, this cruise was a reminder that sometimes the most memorable travel experiences aren't the loudest or the flashiest. They're the ones that make you feel completely at ease, and that's something Fred Olsen does remarkably well. If you've enjoyed this review, please do give the video a like and consider subscribing to follow along with more of our cruise adventures. And if you'd like to see the full Balmoral series, here's a link to the full playlist, along with another video YouTube thinks you might enjoy. We'll see you over there or on the next adventure. Thanks for watching, bye!